Welcome to Growing Belleville Through Community Chats, a podcast presented by the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce to help highlight, promote, and enlighten people, businesses, and community events in the Greater Belleville area. Here are your hosts, Stephen Sedlak and Eric Huber.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Growing Belleville Through Community Chats. I am your co-host, Stephen Sedlak, along with Mr. Eric Huber. How are we, Eric?
I'm doing well, Stephen. In mid-December, the panic of Christmas shopping and fighting the normal Fairview Heights mess that is December shopping. It's fun times right now.
It is, and then once it's all over, we have a cold, dark December, or January and February, so.
Absolutely.
You got to love the chaos when we have it sometimes.
Yeah, you got to take it all in.
That's right. It gets to go with the bad. So anyway, our guest today is Stephanie Mills, the fire chief for the Belleville Fire Department. How are you, Stephanie?
Thank you.
Well, like I said before, why don't you kind of give everybody a quick 10,000-foot overview of yourself?
Sure. So I just became the Belleville Fire Department chief in August. And prior to that, I've spent 23 years on the department and have worked my way up through the ranks to get to this position. Prior to that, I was a teacher. I taught for 8 years and was intrigued with this profession by a couple of friends that I had in the area, and just investigated the profession a little bit more, and it just was a perfect fit for me. So then I started testing in the area and was fortunate enough to get hired by the city of Belleville.
Well, first off, I want to congratulate you. You're, of course, the first women fire chief for Belleville, so congratulations on that. I do kind of want to hit on that because I think it's a very important aspect. What does it kind of mean to you to be, the first women fire chief?
Well, I would say that just being the fire chief in general of this department is an honor, because we have a department full of people that work really hard to serve this community, and to represent them and to lead them is an honor and a privilege. But as far as being the first female, I feel like it takes work to get to this position, whether you're female or male. And I've been doing it for 23 years and have taken the training in order to prepare myself for this. So I don't know. I would like to just think that I'm the best qualified for the position, more than male versus female.
Sure. Yeah. Now, was that always kind of your goal, is to become fire chief, or was that kind of something as your career progressed that you decided that would be something to shoot for?
Oh gosh, it really wasn't on my radar until recently. I did not spend my career preparing for this position, and it's very different than coming off the trucks and then spending most of my time in the office, as opposed to out on the floor or out in the trucks. It's a huge change. It's a completely different job, and you spent 23 years preparing and training for one job and getting better at that, and moving up through the ranks, but then you find yourself doing something completely different, and something that maybe I know for myself, did not spend a lot of time preparing for administration type stuff. So yeah, it's very different, and it's been quite an adjustment.
I bet going anywhere from probably a more physically demanding role to something that is a little more administrative is a change for everybody. Right.
Yeah.
Stephanie, I'd like, like you said, teacher previous to getting into, the department and everything. What was it when you said your friends were kind of brought it up to you, or were intrigued by a couple friends that were in that position? What was it about, the fire department or the role that kind of intrigued you, that really made you pull out of teaching and get into it?
Well, I spent a lot of time growing up involved in team sports. And I liken firefighting to the ultimate team sport. It's you really depend on your brothers and sisters to complete the task, to mitigate the problem. And it takes all kinds of people and all kinds of skill levels, maybe not skill levels, but skill sets, to come together and mitigate an emergency scene. So for me, it was the lure of the teamwork behind the job.
What was it that drew you to, like you said, you've been on the force for 23 years, correct?
Correct.
What was it that drew you to Belleville to begin with that?
Honestly, I was living in St. Louis at the time, and I just started. So in order to become a career firefighter, in this area, you test with different departments, and it's a written test and a physical test, and then it kind of progresses from there. But you get on a list, and so I just started testing in the area, a lot of different places, and Belleville was the first one to call with an offer, and I jumped at the chance, and it's been a great place. I mean, I was living in St. Louis, and I've now lived here for almost 23 years, and it's home now for sure. And it's been fun to watch the changes of the city itself, and the growth of the department, and the relationship between and what we do, to serve this city.
Well, I think there's a very good relationship between you guys and the community, and I think that's been there for quite some time. I mean, even just with the chili cook-off and how well attended your guys' booth is for that. It's a favorite, that's for sure. And I'm lucky enough that I get to watch them cook it right next door and get to smell it a week ahead of time. So
There sometime.
I know, right? So anyway, but no, kudos to you guys for that relationship you guys have with the community. I think that's an important aspect for any fire department to have.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the union does a good job of getting guys involved in some of these events.
I wanted to touch briefly. Sorry, I guess I wanted to touch something. When you joined, briefly or shortly after that was 9/11, right? And so, how did that kind of, I guess, have an effect on you and your career? I'm assuming that for anybody that was a firefighter at the time, that affected them a little bit differently than somebody who wasn't either a firefighter or a police officer of that nature.
Sure. Yeah, I remember the morning very clearly, as most people do. I was still living over in St. Louis, and I was not on shift that day. And it's funny, I gave a quick speech at our 9/11 event here at Engine House 4 on 9/11, and spoke about this, and that I just remember that morning kind of wishing that I was at work, so that maybe in some way, you could be of service. But that event has paralleled my career, just in terms of it's always something that we look to as motivation in a way, but yet to remember that this is a career of service. And I think that, just it's always been kind of in the background of my career. I have a picture over here of the event. It adorns our trucks in the form of decals, and it is an event that is for the last 23 years of my career has been, well, 22, I guess. It happened a year in, but it's always been an event that is present with not just me, but
sure,
all firefighters.
Have you visited the 9/11 memorial in New York City, or do you want to? Or I don't know. I mean, maybe that's something that's just something is, not something you want to deal with. I'm just kind of curious, though.
Also interesting. It was just talking recently that when I do decide to retire, I think that that's a trip that I would like to take. The first retirement trip would be to New York to go to the memorial, because for that reason, it really has paralleled my career, as well as the memory of it has paralleled my career like it has so many.
Well, and I think like an event like that as well. I mean, you mentioned it, and Steve and I were part of teams and sporting teams. An event like that, and I'm sure it's with your surrounding fire departments in different cities and counties and whatnot. I would assume something like that obviously brings everyone together. Brotherhood even further beyond what you would ever imagine. So, I mean, I would think something like that, or even your normal events day to day here locally, probably just pull you guys together even more than what you would think, would it?
Well, it really stood out after that event that there were. So, like I said, you test to get on the departments, and our lists were a lot longer immediately following that. We had a lot more people coming out to test for the departments, and then our lists ultimately, the people that made the final list were ultimately longer at that time, and it has dropped off. I mean, it's not in the forefront of people's minds like it was immediately and shortly thereafter following that event.
I want to go back. I haven't been to the New York Memorial. I did go to the one in Pennsylvania where the plane crashed a couple of years ago. It was actually the 20th anniversary. I was out there for a charity golf tournament for, what was it? Where the firefighter tunnels to Tower to Tunnels. Yes. It was for a charity golf tournament for that. And the next day was the 9/11 Memorial, or 20th anniversary. And I went down for that, and I'll tell you that just being there, and I was there, so it was close. I don't know if I would ever make the trek out there, but I was close, and I knew I wanted to do it, and it was an experience I'm glad I did. It was very sombering, and of course, with it being the 20th year, it was rather crowded as well, but it was extremely quiet for as crowded that it was. So anyway, I just my goal, I'd like to get to the one in New York too. I think it's just a somber and very well done memorial that they have planned. So I hope you get to visit it one day.
Thank you. And I also don't know if everybody is aware, but we do have a very nice memorial in Belleville, and I'm not sure everyone knows about it, but it's right at Engine House 4, and there's a walkway with a timeline of the events of that day. And then, obviously, the memorial itself at the base of it. So, and it was designed with there was a lot of thought that went into the design, and it's nice. It's nice to have it here.
Now, it's got an actual piece of one of the World Trade Centers, correct? One of piece of steels.
Yeah, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I have heard that it's one of the larger artifacts that moved out of the city of New York, and we were fortunate enough to get that for our memorial.
I have gone to that one as well too, and I'm glad you brought that up, because unfortunately I think it is one that some people forget about. So if you drive on Highway 15, you see it every day, but
right,
kind of out of sight, out of mind at some point. So I agree. If anybody that hasn't been to that, I would highly recommend it, and it's right in your backyard. Right. That being said, in regards to here you are, you're what, 3 months in, 4 months into your
coming up on
4. First off, how have things been? And secondly, kind of what are your plans and your goals for the department moving forward?
Well, it's been a learning curve, just trying to stay ahead of the, expectations on the administration side of it, and keep waiting for something to kind of hit me in the back of the head that I didn't know about or didn't get done or something like that, just because it didn't have a lot of training move into this position. So everything is new, and just trying to figure it out. But that being said, I am fortunate and to have people in the office around me that are, well, all of the chiefs are new. Myself, the deputy chief, and the assistant chief are all new. So we're all kind of figuring it out. And we have a great admin staff in front that has really been very helpful. And so I've been fortunate to be surrounded with good people. So that's made it easier. But yeah, things have been very busy, a little bit chaotic. But I think we're starting to get, our feet are starting to hit the ground a little bit, and we're starting to get some traction and starting to move forward. So ultimately, we just, we want to provide our guys with the tools and training for them to be able to serve the community in the best way, safest way possible. And that's, ultimately our goal is to serve this community safely and effectively.
Are you guys struggling at all with, I don't want to say struggling, but are you guys, just with hiring people in general in any sector right now can be an issue? Are you guys having any issues with bringing in, new people or anything like that?
Well, I wouldn't say that we're struggling to bring in new people. There are definitely fewer people that are looking for a career in the fire service, or so it seems. But I heard, and I can't give you an exact number off the top of my head, but most recently in the last few years, we've been doing quite a bit of hiring, and we've hired some really solid people. And the mindset, I believe, has, is focused on buying in to what we do, and then making sure that you're doing all the things that you can do and all the things that you can control to contribute in the best way you possibly can. We can bring the training to you and you can do it, but it takes so much more than that. It's being a self-starter, going to classes, going to training, taking the time every shift to get better at your craft. And I think we've really brought in some people that have bought into that philosophy and just want to be the best firemen that they can be.
Now, so some of those hires, are those experienced from other departments, or are they newer? I guess, are you guys, what does the department do as far as getting out, talking to high schools, or is it SWIC, Lindenwood, local colleges? Are there the different events that people can go out and, if they're seeking advice or is seeking maybe what it's like, is there any type of event or things that you guys do for those types of individuals?
Sure. Well, we go to the career days for East and West here in town. And I think that's probably our most interaction we have with that age group. There is also a fire service program at SWIC. The training grounds are right down on Freeburg Avenue.
Right.
And so we have we have a few guys that teach there, so they have some interaction with SWIC students. And our oncoming people have been kind of a mix, where they've had previous experience on some of the surrounding volunteer departments, or we've had a couple that have had no experience at all. And so we bring them in and train them the best we can, but then we send everyone that has not been through the academy. We send them through an academy, which is at University of Illinois.
I think you brought something up that kind of, the volunteer side of it as well. Obviously, there's the full-time. Are you guys still, the more the merrier with volunteers? How does that look like right now?
I really can't speak on that. I don't know. I think it's probably like anything else volunteer-wise. It feels like numbers are maybe a little bit down for them. I know that they do work to get, people's attention to serve on these volunteer departments. And, but I can't really speak on the numbers or the success that they're having with that.
Well, if somebody young's listening, I don't know how young they be, but what would you say to somebody that would possibly be considering a career in this.
If there's any other teachers listening, right?
Right. That too.
Yeah, if you can things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, for me, and I guess that's all I can speak on, really, it's just been fantastic. It's the best decision I ever made. Nothing against teaching at all. It just, I found something that fit who I was as a person, pretty perfectly. And it's not for everyone, for sure. And you have to be willing to be uncomfortable sometimes. It's you work in all kinds of conditions, and it can be exhausting, and it can be mentally trying sometimes too, because of the types of calls that we respond to. So it's not for everybody, but if it's something that intrigues you and you think you might be interested in it, I would highly recommend it. It's just been, I feel blessed that I kind of stumbled into this career.
Well, look, we want to be respectful of your time. We know you're very busy. We appreciate you coming on here. Again, congratulations. Best of luck. I know, like you said, you're sifting through everything, and with anything, when you get in a new position, it does take a little bit of time to get it set up and run in the way you want. So I'm sure you're on the right track. So again, congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty. Well, thanks again for joining us. If there's a way that anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's a good way to do that? Or the fire department in general?
Oh, you can always call the chief's office. All our information is on the city website, and names and numbers and email addresses, and that's probably your best way to get that information.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you again. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you.
All right, here, if you want to...
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Growing Belleville Through Community Chats podcast. Please remember to follow and subscribe to this podcast and share with your friends and community leaders. For additional information from this podcast, please reach out to the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce.